Imagine waking up one day, and suddenly, multiple beautiful girls claim they're in love with you, but you have no idea why. Sounds like a dream, right? Well, for Jiang Hao Yi, it's a total nightmare. Welcome to the bizarre, hilarious, and action-packed world of Cupid's chocolate, where romance is accidental and danger is never far behind. But what's really going on here? Who is the mysterious girl behind all of this? And how did one bite of chocolate turn an ordinary student's life upside down? Stick with me, because I'm breaking down every twist, every love confession, and every secret that makes Cupid's chocolate one of the most unexpectedly wild anime stories you've never fully understood. The story begins with a 19-year-old boy called Hao Yi, who appears to be a normal student that doesn't show desire for anything, except to continue with his quiet and boring life, until one day in his class, the school beauty, called Sha, thinks that Hao Yi is the father of the child she is expecting, but he claims he doesn't even know her. The news upsets him, and on top of that, his classmates begin to hate him as they're jealous, so he tries to escape. But out of nowhere he meets this hot athletic girl, called Tang, who angrily tells him that she found out what happened with Sha. She seems heartbroken and claims him for being a heartthrob. But again, Hao Yi is utterly confused as he doesn't know her, and had never spoken to her before, so he doesn't know what's going on. He has the whole school behind him, when he meets a third girl, called Lin, who looks like the cute nerd, and she tells him that his two children at home miss him. Hao Yi is totally confused as he doesn't know who these girls are, and on top of that, no one else believes him. He escapes from the situation and ends up on the roof, where the students corner him so much that he has no choice but to jump. But just when he thought he was going to die, a girl called Mei, who is a Cupid, appears and saves him, and explains what is happening. Days ago, Hao Yi ate these special chocolates, and the people who consume it begin to gain false memories of love, which explains why the three girls suddenly have these stories with Hao Yi. She explains that the only way to break the curse is to fulfill the deepest desire of each girl. He starts with Sha, who is sad since she thought that Hao Yi died after having jumped from the roof. However, we all know what happened. He goes back to her to apologize and takes her to get a pregnancy test, which comes back negative. Hao Yi is over the moon about the result. However, Sha says that she will do her best to get pregnant next time, which leaves him even more dumbfounded. He decides to take her home, where he discovers some things, like that she lives alone most of the time in a mansion, since her father spends all his time at work. How he gets a little brave, and rudely tells Sha's father over the phone that he got his daughter pregnant. When he arrives, it's clear to see he is a very wealthy and important businessman. However, Hao Yi is unfazed, and tells him that no matter how much material things he can provide his daughter, she is too lonely and needs her father in her life. Sha's eyes fill with tears of joy after seeing Hao Yi stand up to her father, and we see that he gets through to him, which was enough to fulfill her deepest desire, making the false memories of love she had disappear. However, the next day, Sha asks Hao Yi to go on a date with her, which confuses him since he thought her memories had been erased. However, Mei informs him that a normal memory cannot be wiped. Therefore, everything that happened at Sha's home she can never forget, so she ends up falling in love with him. Hao Yi reluctantly accepts her date, and although it seemed that everything was getting calmer, his childhood friend, called Ayang, comes out of nowhere. We find out that she had always been obsessed with Hao Yi, and it had nothing to do with the Cupid chocolates. She kisses him in front of everyone, as she wants Sha to know Hao Yi is hers. The situation leaves Sha quite anxious, so she confirms with Hao Yi if they're still on for the date, which they are. While walking up the stairs, Tang ambushes Hao Yi and slaps him, telling him that they're breaking up. He tells her with that attitude no one will like her, and she storms off. Mei appears, and Hao Yi asks her if simply breaking up with the girls would solve everything. She says he knows nothing about women, and when a girl says we're breaking up, it is merely a warning. Hao Yi still plans to go on the date with Sha, and when the big day arrives, they end up enjoying it. They even go to an anime convention where they meet again with Tang, in which they discover that despite her strong appearance, she has a secret hobby as a cosplay girl, and hides it as she doesn't want to lose the respect from people at school. However, she had always dreamed of winning the competition that is held every year, which requires 3 participants, so Sha says they will help her. Hao Yi is not too fond of the idea as he doesn't want to dress in woman's attire. However, it seems he doesn't have a choice in the matter as they force him into a cosplay. Kang goes to change, but finds her costume had been ruined in an attempt to sabotage her, so she breaks down and leaves. Hao Yi looks for a way to carry out the competition, and when he goes on stage, he gives a speech from the heart about Tang, saying that she doesn't have to hide parts of herself or give importance to anyone who criticizes her, and that the real her is beautiful. Tang then falls from the catwalk, and with this epic entrance they save the competition and win. Sha begins to feel insecure since Hao Yi shares a beautiful moment with Tang. However, she keeps it to herself. Hao Yi is free for the moment, and takes the opportunity to focus on his studies since he wants to be the best in the class. as he was when he was little. He would always compete with 𝘂𝙑, but he always took first place, at least until high school, where he started letting her win so she wouldn't be bothering him all the time. However, he wants to return to his former glory, so he proposes a bet to Tang and the other girls in the sports club, in which the winner can ask the loser to do anything without question. And the condition is, just one of them have to score higher than him in the next midterm tests. Hao Yi is very confident even after giving them a huge advantage. He studies non-stop and uses the help of his teacher a lot. Here we see how Tang and Xia begin to feel alone, as they would like to spend more time with Hao Yi. However, he focuses on his self, and on the day of the exam he ends up coming first in the whole school. As Hao Yi wins the bet, Tang must obey whatever he asks of her. He tells her she has to wear a maid cosplay for 2 weeks, because he thinks that this will show the real her, and indeed it makes her very happy, fulfilling her deepest desire and lifting Cupid's curse. However, the last girl appears, who supposedly, as I mentioned at the beginning, has 2 children with Hao Yi, which turn out to actually be real, created by her false memories where Hao Yi plays with them. He decides that he must find a way to solve the situation with Lin, so he accompanies her to her house, where he meets Lin's mother. It seems she also has false memories of him and is angry since he hadn't returned in days. However, she invites him inside and they all eat together. Hao Yi receives a call from Xia, in which she proposes a date for Sunday. He ends up accepting. However, Lin proposes a walk with the children that same day, and since Hao Yi is so intelligent, instead of setting the dates on different days, he agrees to make both plans that Sunday. The 2 girls are very excited about the dates, and when the day arrives, Hao Yi divides the time. He shares a few hours with his new family where he plays with the children, and takes them to a theme park. But it is not long before he has to meet with Xia, so he leaves his kids with their mother and is reunited with Xia, with whom he shares real chemistry with. They take photos and go to the park, and while they're there, Xia intends to propose to Hao Yi. Even with a kiss, he ends up leaving her alone when Mei appears once again. Hao Yi is still confused to why the school beauty likes him, and still thinks it has something to do with the chocolates. However, Mei confirms that it doesn't, and her current feelings for him are real. Hao Yi returns to Lin and the children, spending the afternoon with them and takes them to eat, where we discover that Lin has daddy issues that she does not like to talk about. So Hao Yi looks for ways to discover the truth, in order to fulfill her deepest desire, and lift the curse. A teacher from Lin's old school tells him that she used to be very happy as a child, and when her father took her to school she was very attentive. But out of nowhere he never came back, and ever since then she has had this longing sadness. Hao Yi searches for Lin's father with the help of his brother, who works in the police. He obtains some phone numbers that are possibly his. He tries them all, and the last one ends up being Lin's father, who turns out to be a successful businessman. Hao Yi confronts him for abandoning his daughter, but it is revealed that he is not her real father, and that he was just with the mother for a while. This leaves Hao Yi quite confused. He asks the mother about the situation, but she doesn't tell him anything. However, the gossipy neighbor informs Hao Yi why Lin's father is not around. He discovers that she was married a long time ago with an officer, who died shortly after their wedding, which of course left her devastated. However, she met a businessman who wanted to take care of them, but after a short time their families had too many big disagreements, so they ended up breaking off the relationship, leaving Lin with a deep sadness for her father. After finding all this out, Hao Yi gets quite upset because there is not much he can do. But after reflecting, he tries to convince the businessman that he should return to them, but his attempt is useless. Hao Yi gets frustrated but calms down and decides to spend time with Lin and the children for the time being. However, a car accident suddenly occurs which ends up being very serious, and Lin is taken to the hospital. They quickly notify the adoptive father, who quickly arrives to the hospital, realizing that Lin is fine and without a scratch, since the one who received the impact was Hao Yi, who ended up selflessly saving Lin. But not everything was bad, and we see a reunion between the stepfather and Lin, which served to finally fulfill her deepest desire. Hao Yi is in a dreamlike state where he says goodbye to the children, since the curse was finally broken. And when he wakes up, Lin is accompanying him. So in the end, Hao Yi manages to fulfill the wishes of the first 3 girls. Because what you didn't know is that there are 3 other girls who also tried the chocolate. But that will be for another season. For now, everyone ends up happy, and we are left with a girl shouting the name of the protagonist, announcing what is to come. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss out on another video. See you in the next one. Take care.